Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Hey, today's webinar is going to be presented by, I should say what am I trying to say? The presenter today will be John Osborn, and the host will be Jeff Gibby, and I am Greg Lewis, the marketing manager for MetaStock. Now, I hope you don't think that this example of a really bad camera is going to be indicative of the rest of the presentation today, which starts in about 8 minutes and 45 seconds, because it's not. I am coming to you from our studio here in Salt Lake City, and this is our control room, and I've got another room where this camera is, and so I just grabbed this little webcam out of the conference room, and it's really bad. I think it has about 5 frames a second, but I assure you the rest of the presentation won't be like that. And I here all the time to make sure that the technical aspects, the audio and the video, work great. Anyway, another thing, we are simulcasting on GoToWebinar and YouTube, and we always ask that you go ahead and chat in hello and let us know where you're from. I see Vincenzo Denura is already here today. Hello, Vincenzo. As you're coming on, please just go ahead and say hello. Let us know where you're coming in from. And remember that we are recording this, and you can get the recording right here on YouTube. All you have to do is just play back, and it'll, you can just rewind right now, and it'll go back to the beginning of this presentation. Let's see, what else do I need to tell you? Oh, we are MetaStock. If you haven't heard of MetaStock, we are purveyors of charting software and marketing data for traders just like you. And we encourage you to go ahead and, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd like, go to metastock.com and check us out. Check what MetaStock is all about. All right, so we have about 7 minutes. Until that time, I'll just let you listen to some jazzy music and mute myself. And again, please make sure to say hello as you're coming on. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming today. It's good to see you. My name is Jeff Gibby, and I'm going to be reading a little bit of a legal disclaimer and introducing today's guest. So I hope you're doing well. Hope you're enjoying the fall. And let's get straight to this legal disclaimer, which I just realized I didn't have as part of this slideshow. So I'm just gonna, this will be a little bit clumsy for a second, but I do need to read it. So today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of their software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So hope you enjoyed that. It's always my favorite part too. I do want to say welcome to the class today. Today we do have a special guest. We're going to be talking about the MicroQuant MQ Trender Pro and the technologies that they've developed. It's been a very, very popular methodology in our group. And we've actually brought, I'm not sure of his official title, but he does a lot of the programming and the coding and the code design for value charts. And his name's John Osborn. He's a great guy. He does a really, really good job showing stuff in a way that's very organized and straightforward. So with that being said, John, we can hear you. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, Jeff.
All right.
I'm a little disturbed about, you said it was fall. I forgot summer was over.
Right. Yeah, Monday, I think, was the first day of fall. So I'm not ready for that. We are seeing your screen. What I am seeing is the presenter view.
Okay, how do I switch to see? Let's see if I can.
You see at the top where it says display settings, you can actually just say switch presenter view right there.
There we go. How's that?
Yeah.
All right.
Looks great. I'm going to get out of your way.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. So welcome. I'm John Osborn. I am one of the people who work at Basecamp Trading. And we're going to talk a little bit about me and a little bit about Basecamp Trading. Then we're going to talk a lot about Trender Pro. And one of the things you're going to find out is Trender Pro has a lot of different names. So you might hear it as Trender Pro. You might even hear someone call it MQ Momentum Trender Pro from a long time ago when it first started. This indicator is actually going in its 7th year as being a really successful indicator. We've only just recently launched it on MetaStock, and you guys are one of the first people to see it and have access to it, but it's been around a lot and it's proven, and we're excited to share it today. So I know we just had a risk disclaimer. I just want to also say that trading or investing carries a high level of risk and isn't for everybody, and you want to make sure that you're carefully managing your trades, and you want to make sure that you have the right level of experience and that you can tolerate the risk. This trading, make sure you're trading in a profitable way in simulation before you ever start trading with real money. And that's important. So also CFTC rule 4.41 is that your results will vary. Not just may, but we know they're going to vary because every day the markets vary. So we're going to show you some examples of how this indicator has worked in the past. We can't guarantee it's going to work like that in the future, but we do use it every day in our trading rooms, and we use it every day in our own trading accounts. Here's a picture of me if you haven't seen one. And I also made sure I included a picture of my trading dog. And all of the instructors and hosts in Basecamp Training happen to have a trading dog, and they all come and join the room, and they sit in the room while we're running things. So you might hear some barking or weird noises now and then, and it might be me, but it's probably the dog. So anyways, here we have a list of all the things that or my attributes here for you to take a look at. Just want to share a little bit of the background and credentials. I've been trading for well over 20 years and working with BCT at least 5 of those years now, I think. And at BCT, I take over as the room host at times. There's 3 different rooms we have at Basecamp Trading, and they're focused on futures. Another one's on stocks and options, and there's a second one on futures for the afternoon session. And so I host those from time to time and cover most of the strategies that we have available at BCT. I'm also the creator of some of our best-selling indicators at BCT, and Thomas Wood, our head trader, is the one who created the indicator we're showing here today. And I implemented the MetaStock version that you're going to see demonstrated and that you can get your hands on today if you get as excited about it as we are. So I'm really excited to share this indicator with all of you. And as you'll see, the MTP2 indicator we're going to talk about today can make a huge difference in your trading. And that's why it's heavily used in our trading rooms and in our own trading. Now, some of you may not be aware of our organization. We're Basecamp Trading. We have another name you may have heard. We're also known as Microquant. It's kind of the parent company of Basecamp Trading. And that's why a lot of our indicators start with the letters MQ for Microquant. Picture you see here is at an in-person meeting we did last year in Raleigh, North Carolina. And our trading room hosts and staff are in some of these pictures where the people in the gray shirts here. Here's Thomas. He's the one who created the Trender Pro indicator. Drew is our fearless leader, and this is Gary. I'm going to be mentioning him a little bit later. Here's Dave. I stayed back. I was all ready to go, but I stayed back and ran the trading rooms while they were off doing this session. So we are a trading and technology and education company with patented trading technology that's featured in all these places you see down below: Bloomberg, CNN Money, Barron's, Money Show, etc. And we've consulted with multi-billion-dollar funds as well as thousands of traders around the world whose experience range all the way from right out of the gate beginners to advanced traders and even hedge fund managers. And we've helped traders go from consistently losing money to running their own hedge fund in some cases. And we're proud of our record of helping so many people reach their trading goals. Now, speaking of trading goals and meeting your trading goals, that's why we're here today, because I want to help you get there. And I want to give you some information about a powerful tool that takes advantage of one of the most important axiom in trading, and that's it right there. The trend is your friend. And I'm assuming most of you have heard that before. I see Michael says, good morning from New Zealand. Good morning, Michael. It's already tomorrow there. So trend is your friend. That's what MQ Trender Pro is designed to do, is help us make even better friends with the trend. So by using MQ Trender Pro's information, its insight into the trend, we can trade with trend, not just against it. And that's the key thing. We want to make sure we've got trend working with us. So NTP2 can help us identify the trend that might be elusive and make it more obvious, so we can use that, even though it was hidden, in our trading decisions. And even when you're not sure about trend and you want to just be on the sidelines maybe, well, MTP2 can tell you that we're not trending. And it can let you know it's okay to wait, and also tells you when it's time to get back in. Now, we also use MTP2 as a bias tool to help us decide if we're bullish or bearish, and because we want to make sure we're on the right side of the trade. So we want to get in when the trend is rising rather than chasing it after it's run too far. And now, just with MetaStock, and it's some features that are only available in MetaStock, we've added a slew of functionality that's unique just to MetaStock. So now we can even suggest our entries. We can add in notifications of trailing stops and identify exit points. And since those recommendations appear right on your chart, you can look where those exit points were in the past and gauge how well the indicator's working in this specific market. So that's a really cool feature. Just look left and say, yeah, it's been working well, so let's go with it. And perhaps most importantly, it gives you the insight, and for some, the extra courage you need to stay in the trade and keep going. You're going to see that as a repeated theme today in our presentation, is you want to be able to stay in a trade and get as much money out of that trade as you can. And that's one of the best features of Trender Pro, is it will let you know, hey, it's still going. You want to stay in there. Don't jump out. You're doing great. Keep going. It's almost like a coach. Okay, so I know this sounds like a lot for one indicator to do, but it does excel at all these things. And it's why it's one of our favorite and most powerful indicators at Basecamp Trading. And now, as a MetaStock trader, you can have it too. So in today's webinar, I'm going to give you an introduction of Trender Pro. Then we're going to talk a little bit about why Trender Pro can help you no matter what your trading style is. And then we're going to talk about how it's done in recent market moves. Now, what does Trender Pro do today? And I'm going to show you why you're going to want to add MTP2 to your trading tool set. And I want to make it easy for you to see how it's going to help you to be a better trader. And by the end of this presentation, you should have a pretty good idea if this is a good fit for you. And if so, we're going to let you know how to take the next step to make MTP2 your own. And for those of you who say, yeah, I'm ready to go, you're great, and you're ready, then you can get started today. But if you don't want to learn, I'm going to teach you some things, I hope, that are going to be useful, even if you decide not to jump in today. So I'm glad you're here, and let's talk about exactly how MQ Trender Pro can do this. Now, MTP2 is designed to quickly and easily help you understand where the market is and what direction it's heading in. And it's going to work on any market in any time frame. You know, we use it a lot in Renko bar trading in futures, but we also use it in some interesting ways. In fact, one of the methodologies we call our impulse trading, we use it just to determine how to exit out of a position once we're in. That's a perfect example of how Trender Pro is used to identify and keep us in trades for a longer time. And to do this, we use the tool primarily to tell us if we're bullish, bearish, neutral, and even extended. And like you're going to hear this as a repeating theme, as how important it is that it lets you stay in those positions longer so you can increase your profitability. And it will get you out of trades if they're not working out a little bit faster and keep you from getting in them in the first place. It sounds like you can do everything with this trade, and sometimes it feels like you can. But let's see, and you're going to understand that in just a moment here. So why use Trender Pro? Because it keeps you from trading on the wrong side of the mountain. I'm going to show you what that means in the next slide here. But it makes it easier to avoid choppy markets. So you don't have to worry about the markets as much, because you're going to get an indication right on the chart that it's time to get in, or you're bullish, or if you're bearish, and when to get out. Like we said, it helps ride out larger moves, and you can increase your win-loss reward risk ratio. So here's an example of trading the wrong side of the mountain. And here, this is Amazon right here, not too long ago, and prices are moving higher. You can see we gapped up and we saw a run here and said, boy, that's a good time to get in. Doesn't that look like a good time to get into the trade? Now, I guess it does, right? Question, what is the number of trading days that composes a trend? Thanks. That varies. It can vary from one, if you're trading on a one market, it might be longer than another. So it's we really never know how long a trend's going to last, but we can tell when it's starting to get weak, and that's what the indicator can help with. So in this trade, here we are jumping higher, and you say, all right, I'm going to jump into this trade. We're ready to go, and all of a sudden, what happens? It turns against us, and we get out. And you can insert your cartoon bad words in here all you want, because I know how it feels. How many of you have had this happen where everything looked great, you jumped in thinking you were on the right side of the trade, only to find out that you were on the wrong side of the mountain? This is the mountain right here, and jumping in after the fact can end up having this happen. And you know what's going to happen next, of course, is it's going to run higher without us, right? And really what would have been ideal is to get in over here somewhere, right? But where would be the good point to get in? I mean, obviously right here would be perfect, but even if I could get in and take advantage of this run right here, would be pretty good. It's too bad we don't have a better tool to help us out with this, okay? Because I'd love to get in even right there. So what MTP2 can do is it can help simplify your trading so you can easily make the decision to get into the trade like that one, and also to get out of the trade, and even when you should be out in the sidelines. And after all, isn't that what we're looking to do in trading? So green, when we color the bars green, that's what we do. We'll color the bars themselves. When they're green, we are expecting the markets to rise. When they're blue, we expect them to go sideways or stagnate. And red, expect the markets to fall. I hope that's really easy. I hope it's intended to be really simple and easy. And what does this do? Well, it helps us get in at the right time, confirm the breakouts, and again, stay in the trades for the bigger gains. So here's the simplified color coding that reveals what's happening in price underneath the chart. We have red for strongly bearish, green for strongly bullish, and the cyan color blue here in the middle for strongly neutral. Okay, so if we see red, we're going to be bearish. If we see green, we're going to be bullish. And if it's blue, we're just kind of going sideways. And we have a couple of other special color codings. Some of this is brand new in the current version, and that's the concept of being extended. So I can see over here in our graph, we've got a little bit of gray on either end, because we can get too far, too extended in the bullish way or too extended in the bearish way. And then another thing we have, which appeared in the second version of Trender Pro, that is the trailed stop. And that's giving us little points as we rise to move our stop up and make sure we lock in some gains. So let's go back and look at that same trading the wrong side of the mountain here again. And this is the same chart and everything. And this is the same entry and the same exit, this time without the cartoon squares. And here's what the market did. Now, if you could only put the colors on here, and there we go. This is what happens when you add MTP2 to your chart. Now, instead of just red and green, we've got color coding on our bars where we can see we started out bearish over here. We went to neutral. Then we got to green and a little bit more neutral. We gapped up and got to extended. So right here, when we were interested in jumping in that example, had we had this insight, we might have said, well, we got extended. Maybe it needs to pull back a little bit before it's going to go back up again, because that's exactly what it did. We ended up going into neutral and even into the red. That stopped us out. Got back into neutral again, started to move lower, back to neutral again. You can see this market wants to go higher. In fact, if you look, there's a inverted head and shoulder kind of hiding out in here. But look what happens right here at this point where I said, wouldn't it be nice to get in? I mean, ideally down here would have been great. But from here, you wouldn't know if it was going to turn around. But here, this is a really good time to jump in before this big run. And sure enough, see how the bars change from blue to green at the same time we're breaking out of the inverted head and shoulder. That's like the perfect time to get in when you have more than one thing helping you get into a position. So the triggering of the inverted head and shoulder, getting out of the consolidation, changing from blue to green, and up we go. And look at the results. So now we can avoid getting in on the wrong side of the mountain, and instead here we are getting on the right side of the mountain to go up in this case and take advantage of the gains. And we didn't even have to sweat walking up that mountain, it just went right up for us. If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them. I'm happy to answer them as we go here. So how does this technology work? And yes, it's proprietary and we can't reveal everything about how it works, but I'll tell you a little bit about how it works. Because it turns out that Trender Pro 2.0 is full of microquant technology. And that is, it brings together a whole bunch of different key trading indicators that we have into consideration when it creates or determines its trend and colors the bars. And it actually will use different technologies in different situations. So for example, it can pull data from momentum, or it might use price action. It might use linear regression lines. It can use adaptive moving averages. It can use a comparison of bar extremes. We look at candlestick opens and closes, and any or all of those combinations are all brought together with a whole slew of technology to be able to do the calculations on this. And then what we do is we use adaptive, we call it adaptive filter technology, because it will use different filters to determine the bias. So we look at all these different factors that we can accommodate and then pull them together, get an accurate trend identification across just about every kind of market, because we can measure the market in lots of different ways and then score them. And then if we have enough, say if we have a dozen filters that we're looking at, say if we get 10 of the 12 filters active and telling us we're bullish, then we'll go strongly bullish. And if it's only 7, we might go neutral to bullish. And if we only get 4, then maybe we are neutral. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the idea. And it turns out that with all these technologies and combinations, like 49 different combinations that result in the scoring that MTP2 can offer. But with all that stuff going on, it all boils down into simple color coding. So even though all that's happening, it's still easy to use. And there's little question about what to do when it comes onto your chart. So it makes it easy and obvious. Now, I mentioned before that this indicator is, well, it's new to MetaStock. It's been around for almost 7 years now. It's created in 2014 by Thomas Wood. Again, he's the head trader at Basecamp Trading. In that initial release, we just had 3 colors. Then we upgraded it, came out with a new version called the Pro version. and that got updated to refine things a little bit differently and added the trailing stop that we call the golden bar. And then in 2020, we brought in even more technology, brought even more resolution, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And one of the things we also did is we introduced it on MetaStock. So it's new to MetaStock this year, but it's already been proven for quite some time, since 2014. So again, we have our simplified color coding, which reveals the underlying trend. I don't know if you guys can hear a helicopter going kind of close. Maybe they're interested in getting MTB too. So strongly bearish is one of our choices, strongly neutral and strongly bullish. We saw that before, but now with the new version, we also have a neutral to bearish and a neutral to bullish. And with our extended features, and this is the first time we've used extended in the new version here, but we actually use two different colors now. So if you want to distinguish your bullish extended from your bearish and make it easier to see, you can do that. And the same thing with bullish golden bars, you can use two different colors. Okay, so we have all this technology is running, but it's still relatively simple to use. Okay, and let's talk about how we use Trender Pro. So we filter all the technology into 5 color categories. Like I said before, we have our green, our blue, and our red. So whenever we have green, whether it's bright green or dark green, we want to move higher. Although we can tell now when we're somewhat bullish and when we're really strongly bullish. So we use the darker bullish to say, all right, we're getting there. We're kind of neutral to bullish. But then once we go green, bright green, then we know we're strongly bullish. Of course, neutral, we still have strongly neutral, and then 2 colors of bearishness. So how does this work? Well, we can go ahead and let me turn my pen on here. So if we notice that we start out over here where it's red, even if we just use the colors alone of green, so we could get in here, and then when we get extended, we could get out here, okay? Or we could get out here when we break out of the extended there, and then get back in here, and ride this all the way up to here. We're starting to get extended already on this. This is Amazon. Okay? It could be that simple. Now, if you wanted to get more detailed, we can take advantage of this drop right here and say, all right, let me ride this through. And then once we go neutral, we could get out once we change colors. So you can do more. But what we can do is say, all right, if I'm generally bullish, then I'm going to enter on the green and exit when it's not green, or enter on green but exit when it's neutral. And if you're really trying to give it more room, you might enter on green and exit on red. So all those options are available to you. You can choose what you want as far as how to get in and out. But again, the simple way is get in on green, get out on not green. Okay? And just that alone can work pretty well. Okay. Now, I also wanted to tell a little bit more about what's going on with the trailed stop, which we said were golden bars. So they have both those names. And it's based on price action. And what it means is when you get a golden bar is that you can optionally place a stop beyond the bar. So if you're in a bullish position, the stop would be below the bottom of the golden bar. Now, the further away you place it, the more likely you're going to stay in for a longer run, right? Just like any other stop you place, you kind of want to find the right sweet spot where it's far enough away where it's not going to touch it and let you run, but also not so far that it eats up your profit should it go against you. And one of the things that I like to use as an optional rule is that when you get a golden bar, like say you're riding higher, and let me draw it here. So let's say you're moving higher and you go up and you get a golden bar, say this is the golden bar, then what I like to do is look at the next bar. And if it closes up, then I'm going to stay in. Okay, because all this was a tiny little pullback. But if the next bar closes down, then I might get out and say, all right, that's it. And that's what this means. If the next bar closes against you, exit. Otherwise, stay in and ride it out. Okay, so the golden bars let you identify the trailing stops. The other specialty bar we have is extended. And that's when a market's getting a little too far along. And that doesn't mean you want to jump out of the trade, but you might want to start avoiding entering new trades once you get into extended. Because when you're in extended mode, you're still in the mode that was underneath it. Like when we saw that chart before, where it was bullish green and it got gray, it's still green underneath that gray. So you could still be bullish, but we generally say, we're getting extended, don't enter a new trade. Don't jump out, but don't start a new trade. And then be ready to exit. Tighten up your stops, be a little more careful, maybe take partial profits, but don't be afraid to let it run, because sometimes when you get extended, it continues to run. In fact, being extended means it's really running, and that could be a sign that it's going to keep really running. So don't jump out, just pay attention and hold on, because it might end up being a great trade. So here's an example of how those two things work together. So here we have a bearish move lower, we got to neutral, and right here we get our green entry. This is initially, see how this is a little bit darker than here, so these are neutral to bullish. And then we find our way higher, we get a golden bar, we could put our stop in below that golden bar. We did close lower here. I would probably exit at this point, and then we'd wait a little bit, and then we get our green again. And I think at this point, I would also notice that we had a little bit of consolidation, and I probably would wait until I got to either here or above here. But in any case, by the time I get there, we are green. And so we're back in again here. Then we get a stop, maybe put a stop here. Hopefully we don't get taken out on this one. We stay in. We get a nice run higher, another stop. This one closed higher. We're doing good. We get extended here. Now this is the extended bars. So at this point, we're not going to close here. We're not going to give up all this gain we have over here. But instead, let's just tighten up our stop. We get a golden bar here. And at this point, I probably would have gotten stopped out at this point right here. But I wouldn't be afraid, because we're strongly bullish, to jump in again right here. And sure enough, up we go. And this time we get extended quickly. You don't want to jump out here. Stay in, ride it out. We get all the way up here, we get a golden bar. I move my stop up here and lock in some gains. If you want to give it a little more room, you can do that. You could trail it back to a previous pivot, for example. But we've been warned here with the golden bar that maybe we will not continue here. Sure enough, after the extended and a golden bar, we kind of started to do some sideways stuff. And pretty soon we changed to red. And this is definitely, we're out by this point when we turn red. But look at the gains that we had. We had a trade here, right? Even if we got in this one late, we could ride this one all the way up to here. And then we had a third leg that we could ride all the way, well, and we came back maybe to here, if we got out down here. And this is an example of how Trender Pro can help you get in and stay in, and also lock in your profits. I hope you see the value of that, and it really works out. Cool it was one way to describe it. So let's keep moving here. So we didn't just stop there. Of course, it's MetaStock. So MetaStock gives us a lot of really cool tools. So the other thing we did is we brought in, we have Trender Pro 2.0. We also brought an MQ Momentum. And MQ Momentum, the best way to describe this, it's similar to MACD. However, this is much more responsive than MACD. It might look like MACD because it plots the same way that MACD does, but the generation of this white line here is what it's all about. It's so much faster and so much more responsive that this is probably the indicator that's on every single chart that we use at Basecamp Trading is MQ Momentum. No matter what style or whatever, we almost always have MQ Momentum. Okay, this indicator right here sells on our website for $297, and we sell them. And people use them and make money with them. So it's a great indicator to have. But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how this works in a moment. Plus, you get the trend ribbon, which is another technology that Microquant has called MQ Trend. And we're using that as a general bias filter. So we can tell when we're bullish versus bearish. These appear as dots on some of our other technology uses, but we built them right into the ribbon. That way it keeps our charts nice and clean. Ryan asks, what's the recommended bar resolution? Can it be used on futures contracts? The recommended bar resolution, it works on all bar time frames. So by bar resolution, I'm not sure what you mean, but if you mean different time frames, it works across them all. Like I said, we use this on Renko charts for futures, time charts for futures, time charts for stocks. We pretty much use it everywhere. And it's, like I said, it's one of the most useful indicators that we have. Okay. Now imagine when you have an understanding of how to use Trender Pro plus MQ Momentum, which I'm going to do a quick little lesson on, and then MQ Trend all together. You can imagine the power of combining those together. And now that's not where we didn't stop there. We also added, to make it even easier, we added the technology that MetaStock offers by putting in these signals. Right? This is amazing technology that's built into MetaStock. Not every platform has the capability to do this, and MetaStock, lends itself to do this, and you guys are lucky to have this as technology. And we were able to come up with some relatively complex entry points and exit points that are working out really well. So you're going to have automatic plotting of entries and exits. So here's an example where we have over here we have a long trail, we have a long exit right here. And the market was wondering if it could go up right here, but we ended up quickly going to a short entry. We got a short exit, another short entry. Here's the short exit, and then we get the long runs here. So this was the long entry. We got a trail. Right here, we got a long exit signal, closing down, like I had said. When you close below our golden bar, it's time to get out. But look, we immediately got these signals to get back in again. So we pocket this rise, jump in again, then pocket this rise. And then you can see how we got extended and we pulled back. So let me tell you a little bit about MQ Momentum, because it makes you an even better trader when you can use this along with Trender Pro 2.0. So real simply, let's do a couple of little slides on here. What MQ Momentum is doing is it's telling us the speed and the movement, the speed and the direction behind the market. So it's doing a calculation, and this white solid line here is telling us if we're rising, if we're expected to rise, and by how much. So when we start to see this rising, we can indicate that we are bullish. Okay? If we start to see it falling, then we start to get less bullish, and then we see it dropping, we'll start to become more bearish. Now, these green and red bars indicate the power behind the move. And when we see this big move up here, these are indications that we're going to expect to see further moves. So right here, we see it kind of trailing off a little bit, but then it picks up again. And then bearish, when increasing in size to the downside, would be increasingly bearish, like moving down through here. Now, these blue lines just act as a reference level for us. So let me show you how we can confirm an entry and anticipate the direction and energy of a market. That's what we use this indicator for. And we want to see MQ Momentum rising when price is rising to confirm our entry, right? So, and we're going to talk about a little bit about divergences too, but here's an example here. See how price was kind of moving sideways, and then it went up, but then pulled back, and then it went up again. Now the question is right here, looking at this chart without Trender Pro and without other indicators, it's hard to know if this is an opportunity to go long. But if we look down here where number one is, look how momentum and MQ Momentum is already telling us, hey, no way, this is bearish and strongly bearish. Don't take that trade. So even though it's rising here, we're getting a clear indication that we are already bearish and this is going to run. And look at the results. Okay, so that's about confirming the move. And you get this indicator along with MTP2. So you can use them both together. Now here's another example. See how price is dropping here. And then we come up a little bit, but we drop some more. Now the question is, do we want to, I mean, is this as low as it's going to go? What if I told you that this is a good point to get in? Remember that chart we saw in the beginning when we were talking about being on one side of the mountain or the other? And I said, boy, wouldn't it be great to get in down here? Well, this is a way to find out that it's time to get in down here. Look how price was dropping here, where this pivot is higher than this pivot. So we have a lower pivot, but look how our momentum is saying, no, I'm not as bearish anymore. I'm going to be stronger here. So we can see price is lower, but our MQ Momentum is higher. And many of you know what this is called. It's a bullish divergence. So this right here is a strong indication that we're probably going to reverse and we can jump in. Okay, so that's a couple of ways that we can use MQ momentum. In the user guide that comes with MTP2, I think there's quite a few pages that talk about this and how and other ways to use MQ momentum. So when we use this type of information along with MTP2, now we get an even more powerful combination that can help us identify those key entry points. So here's an example where we have price falling as strongly bearish right over here. In fact, let's back up over here and look at this. So we can see right here is that as we're rising, we can see momentum is rising, and that's helping us stay in. Of course, Trender Pro is being green this whole time until we get to this point right here. Okay, and look how all of a sudden, even before we change to red, we start to fall off on momentum. And right at the point where we break the previous low in between this little trough right here is when we start to really move to be more bearish. And if you look really closely, it's a little hard to see, but there's an S entry signal right here. That's these red arrows. This first one here was telling us get out of the long, and this one here was saying get into the short. So they both have a red arrow because a long exit is to close the position and a short exit is to enter a short position. And here's momentum telling us to move lower. Now look at, we went up a little bit, but momentum was saying, don't worry, we're really strongly red, we're moving lower, and we got a golden bar so we can trail our stop, lock in that little bit of gain we might have had or break even, and we stick with it. Trender Pro is telling us that it's gonna move lower. The momentum is saying it's not moving higher, we're gonna move lower, and sure enough, down we go. Another trailed stop, move your stop down below, and down we go. Here's that bullish divergence that we talked about, where we have the move lower, momentum's higher. We're already itching to get out of this now because we got so much gain. We're trying to stay in as long as we can, but as soon as we get that golden bar, we're ready to change our mind, especially with the bullish divergence. And as soon as we get through a few bars of consolidation, we're ready to jump in and take another trade up to the other side, and we're getting those signals all along there. Now, the other thing we can add here is the MQ trend. And notice how MQ trend is on the ribbon, and it's switching us from being in a bearish mode right here. Look how we, right at the point we changed to green, we're switching over to MQ trend bullish. This is when you get confirmation and confluence. When you're getting a signal that's bullish, and you could have waited if it was, you needed one more bar, and then it's like, wow, we got a jump, we broke out of consolidation, we've got the green MQ trend, and we're ready to ride this higher. Same thing here, when we got the long exit, just after that, we got the signal from MQ trend, get out and go short. And see how it's helping us add an overall bias to the trade. And see the power of having Trender Pro 2.0, MQ momentum confirming the concept of the bullish divergences, and also the ribbon all working together. It's like check, 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 helps you get a great trade. Let's look at some sample charts. And remember, I mentioned here, one of the key benefits of Trender Pro is giving you that confidence to stay in longer. Imagine this, you get into the trade right here and you move up here. A lot of people, you know, we're talking 2 weeks worth of move and they're ready to jump out. But here, this is when it's saying stay in here, you know, because it's got more energy to go. And sure enough, we ride all the way up, we get our trailed stop. Here's where we finally lock in some profits. Another trailed stop, lock in some profits. Another trail stop, lock in some profits, and this time, perhaps we got taken out right there. Not a bad trade. We also would notice too, is that at this point, in fact, at this point, we were already getting a heads up on MQ momentum that we're not as high as this pivot back here, and therefore, watch out, it might be falling. So if we were smart, we might have just said, you know what, this has been a really good run. You know, yes, Trender Pro is still green, but I'm going to start to lock in some gains here. Maybe take partial profits off and let a little bit of it run. And then this happens. Really powerful stuff. Here's another way that you can use Trender Pro, and that's to use it in confirmation of moves. So here we have really a consolidation going on here, all through here. And then we finally move lower only to start what we call a micro uptrend. And see how we get this bounce right here from this point to this point. We connect that with a line. We call that a micro uptrend. We expect one more bounce, and then we watch for the breakout. So we're already going to be watching this point for the breakout when price breaks through here. But look what happened. Right as we broke out, we got a Trender Pro red signal. This is what we talk about confirming the move. Because as we're breaking out, see, we went from green to neutral, and then bam, as soon as you go through, we're red. It means get in, because now we've got a confirmation of the break of the trend line, and you don't have to worry about trying to wait to go below this or below this. Get in now, it's ready to go. And what happens? Bam. Little pause, we stay red, doesn't even bother us. No yellow bars or anything, we just run right down. Okay, we ended up getting our short trails, our golden bars way up here. You could have already taken profits on the green. You could have taken profits here in this little pullback that we had, or partial profits. But look at this power in that move. And that's Boeing. And it's nice when you get the break of a trend line and as well as the confirmation at the same time. You'll see that so many times where it will confirm what you're trying to do. And that's how you can have the confidence to just keep going when you're placing those trades. Here's a more recent example. This is Apple right now today. Okay, I might have copied this just before the close, but this is what Apple's been doing, and this is on the daily. And you can see right here, we were off the chart here. We got our trails, we ran up here, got extended, no surprise. After being extended, we go sideways a little bit, had our trailed stops, got our exit right at this point. Could have taken a bearish stance here, but we were still bullish on the ribbon, so we might have waited, and that would have given us another opportunity right here. So we jumped into this, rode that down, got some profit over a few weeks or a couple of weeks, started to see some consolidation, but this was our trailed stop. Probably would have taken, gotten out here, but here's our short exit signal saying get out. We got another long entry, a quick long exit, but then we got another long entry here. And as we were breaking into the bullish ribbon area, we quickly switched into bright green, got our first trailed stop, ran up, got another trailed stop. We might have got taken out here. If so, you could jump back in. You could also add to a position if you're already in the position and you get more signals. I would have probably jumped out with this long exit and then jumped right back in again when I got the signal, and bam, up we went again. This time we got extended, and this is just in the last month here. This is September here, and look how right before we got to that peak up there, back in the 24th of August, we were starting to get a warning saying, hey, be careful, we are extended. And we got our golden bar back on early September. I think this was September 3rd when we got the pullback. And we were getting the signals saying, okay, that's it. And we got the long exit signal right here. I hope that's exciting for you to see that kind of signal. Even if you waited to jump in here, or even back here, you still got a great move. This is just from here is $90 to, say, if you got out right here, that's up to, say, $115. If you got in from back here, you would have been getting in at 70. I know there was probably a split in here somewhere, so it would have been adjusted for that. But wouldn't it have been nice to have all that happen to your 5-for-1? That would have been sweet. All right. So let's talk about what's included in Trender Pro. You get a lot of stuff, right? You get Trender Pro, does all the trend calculations. That is all the chart is being done, or the colors in the charts are being done by the expert advisor. You actually get the MQ momentum indicator, and then in the background you've got MQ trend running the ribbon, and then also another indicator you're going to see when you purchase this is that we do our own average true range calculation, so there's an indicator for that as well. So you'll see all those indicators available and running. That's all supporting the technology that generates our bars. Then you have your highlights. You get that's the color coding. We get the signals. We had our ribbon alerts, and of course, the wonderful expert commentary that comes out of only MetaStock has that, and it's a MetaStock thing. We have 8 different explorations that focus 4 on bullish ones, 4 on bearish, where you can find the scan of every entry and also the surges. Surges will be when you move directly from, say, neutral right up to bright green, or a surge would be from neutral to bright red. And then we have these surge breakouts 5 and surge breakout 10. What that's doing is says not only did we surge, not only did we get our entry, but we're also breaking out beyond the most recent 5 bars. So we're breaking out of a consolidation channel. And in the case of the breakout 10, even bigger, twice as big. And so you want to search for the biggest and the best. You can search for the Trender Pro Bull Surge Breakout 10, okay, or the Bear Surge Breakout 10. So pretty cool stuff. We've got a user's guide. It's almost 50 pages long, and it tells you all kinds of things. You don't have to read the whole thing, but it's a great reference. I'm going to point out some sections to read in there. And layouts, we've got just one chart, black and white, and so you can use either version. Then we have a weekly, daily, black and white, and a monthly, weekly, daily. Why do we need that? Because confluence is important. So for example, here's Apple yet again. These are current. And when we know that we're bullish on the weekly, it's going to give us even more courage and more motivation to stay in the trade on the daily. So we can look side by side at monthly and weekly and daily. And when we have all 3 of those lining up, then it's even better of a trade. In the Expert Advisor, here's the highlights. You can see all the different colors of the bar. You can change all of these if you don't like green. Some people, especially 10% of the male population, have trouble distinguishing between green and red. So you can change these to whatever colors you want, whatever works out. So you've got those. If you don't want to see certain types of signals, just uncheck them. Here's all the different symbols. If you don't want certain types of signals, you can uncheck them. Here's the ribbon that you get as part of the Expert Advisor. You got your alerts where they're all defaulted to off, so you're not going to be bothered by them, but you can turn these on and you'll get the alerts whenever those situations happen. And here's that verbose and helpful expert commentary, where it gives you a summary of whatever the chart is pointing at, and you've got some descriptions of how to handle things. So if you get a bullish golden bar, for example, it says the market is currently pulling back from a bullish extreme and presenting a golden bar. This indicates a pullback, typically after a strong bullish move. When encountering a golden bar, try to assess whether this is a temporary pullback or if it's signaling the end of the current run, and then a more significant reversal is likely. And I talk about how to manage that in here in the code, and then that we a lot of times use it as a trailed stop. Down here, we also had the signal, and we had a long trail signal up here, and it says how to handle that. You get the MQ trend market status, all given out with some guidance on how to handle that specific situation. Really cool technology in MetaStock that can do that. Here again is the bullish and bearish explorations. These are your scanners. And this was the results from today. Okay, so here's a bunch of stuff. We got Rite Aid and Tanger, or Tanger, I guess is how you say that word. They make a lot of the malls. These are telling us that today those are good bearish surge entries. So we saw significant moves in these markets that made us move from being middle of the road to very bearish. So there's an example of that from today. Here's the table of contents from the user guide. You can see how many pages there are here. So right, a couple of things in here. There's a section right here with trading with MQ momentum. So 4 or 5 pages that will give you an idea of how to use that. Here's one about how important it is to be consistent in your trading and having discipline. Just a little short section on that, a page or 2. And then down here is a large section here. It's about 13, 14 pages long, and it's all frequently asked questions about the indicator. So hopefully we've answered some of your questions in this guide. If you have a question, you'd look there and see if there's an answer for it. And we also provide support. MetaStock provides support. When they can't answer it, it comes to me. I handle all the support questions, and I'm happy to do that. And I was looking to make the indicator better if we need to, if that's the requirement. Here's the layouts. We talked about the layouts, but again, black and white, weekly, daily, monthly, weekly, daily. And here's a bunch of reasons why MTP2 is a great choice. And we touched on a lot of these things, but the most important reason of all is that, remember we talked about trend is your friend? Wouldn't it be nice to finally get a handle on that? Everybody says that, but a lot of people struggle with trying to identify trend. Now with Trender Pro, you can finally say, all right, I get it. I've got an indicator that tells it to me, and I know what to do. So it's trend is your friend, and yep, and I know how to use it. So I'm going to close here with a little story about Gary Edwards. So Gary Edwards, he's actually ex-Army. He was in Army for 35 years. He's been shot 5 times. Bullets penetrated him 3 times, I think, 3 different occurrences. I've heard some pretty good stories. But Gary is an incredibly disciplined trader, and he came to BCT not being successful. He started out being a student, and he devised a methodology that worked for him that allowed him to trade using Renko. And he did such a good job at trading Renko that we ended up asking him, would he lead the trading room? And he does it now. And he is such a great trader. His most powerful attribute, I would say, is discipline. And if you ask him, and if you meet Gary or if you see him in his trading room, you ask him, what is the indicator that you would least like to have somebody take away from you? And he would probably say MQ Trender Pro, the one that we just saw today. And he has said many times that it's the most important and most useful indicator in his trading toolbox. And I asked him if I could quote him on that, and he said yes. What I didn't ask him is if I could show his success chart that he is almost embarrassed to show. And I'm going to share that with you guys. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do this, but look at him. A couple of years ago when he was just starting out, he only made $800. Now, that's not bad. Next month he made $1,200. The next month $5,200. After that $12,000. The month after that in October, and these are bad months generally, right? September is like the worst month, but it's great for volatility. And crude, which he's a specialist in trading crude oil in many ways, and other futures, but crude was extremely volatile. And he had a really good month. And if I didn't show you this last month here, you would be saying, I hope, I'm impressed with 22,000 in a month. And to go from 800 up to 22,000. But he ended up having such a good month in December. He ended up with $167,000 in a single month. And you know what he said was the reason that happened? It's because he could stay in trades longer. And the reason why he was able to stay in those trades longer is because of Trender Pro 2.0. He was able to see his trades. He was trading 5 contracts at a time when he got into December, and the markets were moving. And you know what? This is an unusual month. And he even says, I don't even like showing this because there was a lot of luck involved in this. And he says, most of these gains were made in 5 separate days in that month. But you know what? It was Trender Pro that let him stay in those trades, even though they were not very often. He may not see them a lot. He attributes his success and these gains to his discipline, and he got that in a great part from Trender Pro 2.0. So, no one's going to guarantee that you can make this kind of trade, even this kind of trading every month. But you know what? No one guaranteed that to Gary either. And he's a great guy. I hope you have a chance to meet him, and you can ask him about this trading. He just regularly pulls in, well over $1,000 a day in his single contract account every day. He runs a single contract account, and then he has his other account that he runs 5. We don't know how much he makes every day in those accounts, but he's doing pretty darn good. And Trender Pro is his favorite and most useful indicator. All right. What year was that? That was 2018. That was 2018, I think. Let me think about that. I believe that, yeah, that would have been 2018. Okay, so what's the percent? A couple questions here. What's the percentage of fake outs? Not all who know stuff can relate to others. You are a great teacher. Oh, no, thank you very much. Percentage of fake outs. I don't have that figure. I don't really worry about it. I just kind of move on. When it goes against me, that's part of trading. And I know it's like waiting for a bus. You miss a bus, the next one's coming along. So Yeah, I don't know those numbers. We'll have to get back to you on that one if you really want to know that one. Anna Cerny got 35K in 1 day, 2 days ago. That's awesome. Congratulations. Really good. All right. So let me turn it back over to Jeff. He's going to tell you a little bit more about it. And if you want to get your hands on this, and hope you do, and take advantage of this great power and tool and simple tool, I hope you'll jump on this. So Jeff, let me hand it back.
Can I bother you to ask, or can I bug you to ask to answer one more question from the YouTube side?
Sure.
Rajiv, one of our friends from India, wanted to know if this can be used as a black box system to just follow the ribbon bullish or bearish to trade.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to say yes, but I don't know what market you're going to use, and it's going to work better on some markets than others. So what I would do is I would, visually backtest it and see what it looks like, and see how well it worked out in the past. And if you find a chart that is responding properly, then go for it. And just, wind the time back, go back maybe a year, and then just look at the ribbon. And when you get the green ribbon, you could jump in if that's what you want to use, and then get out when it's red. This one here didn't work out, but you have to look at all the examples to do that. This one here worked out great. This is our monthly, weekly, daily chart we're seeing here. So I would say back test it. I don't have that answer, but I would definitely just take a look at it and see how it works.
All right. That was all of the questions I couldn't answer out of YouTube. So there you go. Let me go ahead and kind of take control. John, great job. I knew you'd do a very good job, and you did. So
no, thank you.
Let me go ahead and make sure we're sharing the right screen here.
Yeah, it looks good.
It should be. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what is included. You do get the user's guide. You do get the templates. And you get, of course, some of the things that I love most about MetaStock, like the ability to go in and see what the commentary is and how the commentary works. And in addition to that, you get the ability to go in and run a scan, an exploration. And those are a couple of things I really kind of just want to take a second to show you. So I do have the Microquant Trender Pro Expert open. And what I want to just kind of pay close attention to right here is what we call our expert commentary. So like, for example, I'm going to go ahead and move the commentary so that it's looking at this golden bar here. And you can tell what day it's looking at it because there's just a triangle that points down on it. And you'll notice as soon as I do that, you're going to have your bullish golden bar. It's going to give you a description of what that means. It's going to tell you how to manage the golden bar. It's going to tell you exactly how to trade it. And then, of course, it does scanning as well. And with the scanning, you can go in and you can go in and very, very quickly identify exactly what patterns you want to trade and exactly what stocks are. So if I come into the Power Console real quick, I'm just going to go in here and mute John's microphone real quick. Give me a second, just because I can hear it. And there we go. Okay. So if I wanted to run that, John said his favorite scan was the MQ breakout 10 bar. So if I wanted to run that with MetaStock, all I've got to do is just go ahead and click on the scan I want to run. Here's a list of all of the ones that are included. And I can go ahead and say, okay, well, I want to scan that against one of my, I'll just do the S&P 5, or let's do the S&P 500. It'll run a little bit quicker. I can go ahead and start that scan. Oh, and I have quite a few actually selected. You'll notice it's going to run quite a few of them. But that quickly, it's going to be able to go through and tell me what it's identifying as buys and sells. And so a couple of the things that I think are extremely helpful that are available as part of the MetaStock version. I just love how MetaStock can get really, really specific about what it's doing in the market for you. So MQ Trender Pro 2.0, normally we retail this for $14.95. $1,495. We are running a special today on it where you can get it for $9.95. And we're going to offer it to you with our 30-day money-back guarantee. So that means if you try it, you can go ahead and install it in your MetaStock. You can play with it. You can run it for 30 days. And if it's not helpful, have literally no risk in terms of trying it. So well, I would encourage you to try it. It's a fairly good low risk reward ratio. So normally, as you see on the screen, it's $14.95. Here, if you get it today, it's going to be $9.95. So to do that, you can visit us at metastock.com/valuechartsb. You can give us a call. Our phone number is 800-882-3040, or you can visit us at metastock.com/sales-chat. If you'd like us to kind of send you chart examples or anything like that, if you want to kind of see some charts of maybe some of the stocks you're interested in, give us a call or chat online with us. Again, that's 800-882-3040. You can also visit us at metastock.com/sales-chat. I want to say thanks to John. I think he did a great job. Very, very thorough, very clear. Thank you for joining us today, John. Also, for all of you that watched online, thanks for coming. It's good to have you here. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you at the next one.